Welcome back, and the second half of the OHL preseason schedule resumes tonight, which is pretty exciting for OHL fans, including the Barrie Colts. They play tonight on the road against the Owen Sound Attack. Now, to note about that game tonight, it's going to be played in Hanover, not the Bayshore. They're going to be playing at the home of the PGHL's Hanover Barons. So that game getting underway at 7 o'clock, and after what happened in their last preseason game, the Barrie Colts giving up 10 goals, using that as a learning experience, I'm sure, and we'll see what they can do tonight in their second meeting against Owen Sound this preseason. And there's two other games tonight. The Sarnia Sting, they're taking on the Windsor Spitfires, and it's the Battle of Northern Ontario between the Sudbury Wolves and the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Now, the reason for this video, the Canadian Hockey League, they have come out with their top 10 rankings, and the top 10 ranking always causing a little bit of controversy. I know there's fans across the CHL being like, hey, why didn't our team make the top 10? Or how can you put this team up higher than us? And we can let that debate begin, because taking top spot from the Quebec Major Junior League is the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies. I'm focused on the Ontario Hockey League, so I'm not going to say that I know anything about the Huskies going to this season. I know they are expected to have a good season in the Quebec League, so we'll have to wait and see what happens on that front. But for the OHL, taking the top spot on the CHL ranking are the London Knights. I'm going to be honest, I'm a little surprised. I thought a different team would have taken top spot, and that would have been the Saginaw Spirit. They came in at number 4 on the ranking, so the second highest OHL team in the top 10 for the CHL ranking. Now, when you go over the number or the rosters, you can kind of see why London might have the edge on the Saginaw Spirit. You've got players like Easton Cowan on that team. I made a video the other day about Sam Dickinson. He's supposed to be the top prospect for next summer's NHL entry draft. And the list goes on. They also have, from the import selection, Kasper Hulttunen. He's the prospect of the San Jose Sharks. He's expected to have a big year with the London Knights. And the list goes on. You also have Max McHugh. You have Bonk and Barkey, and the list goes on for the London Knights. They're going to have a good season. I'm not knocking the London Knights. They are going to be a very good team. They went to the OHL final last year and fell short against the Peterborough Petes. So you know that Dale Hunter and company, they want to go back to the final. They want to represent the OHL at the Memorial Cup. And, so early on, getting the edge on the Saginaw Spirit when it comes to the CHL rankings. And I touched on Saginaw. They were number 4 on the ranking, and they've got a loaded lineup. Of course, they're going to be the hosts of the Memorial Cup in May, and it's going to be led by Michael Misa. He's going to be fantastic in his second season, and he's only coming in as a 16-year-old this year. He had exceptional status last year and still put up some great points. You also have Zan Peric, another top prospect going into the NHL draft. He scored the most goals in OHL history for a defenseman at the age of 16 with 21, so you know he's expected to have a big season. And then if you pair him with Braden Hache, who's acquired from the Barrie Colts, it's kind of similar with what Barrie had last year in the regular season when you had Hache and Brant Clark together. So now you're going to get that similar look in Saginaw for the entire season. It's going to be fun to see what the Spirit can do. Plus, Barrie Colt fans will be familiar. Hunter Hates, also a member of that Saginaw Spirit team. So some former Colts playing for Saginaw. Maybe the one question mark with the Spirit might be goaltending, but it's still early. The Saginaw Spirit looking not too bad in the preseason. We'll see what they can do in the final weekend. But the Saginaw Spirit, number 2 for the Ontario Hockey League on the CHL ranking, coming in at number 4. Number 8 on the CHL ranking, a little bit of a surprise, the Sudbury Wolves. They are the highest ranked team from the OHL's Eastern Conference. They do have a lot of returning players. Leading the way, you've got David Goyette, you got Quentin Musty. The Sudbury Wolves are going to be a lot of fun. They're coming to Barrie this weekend for the Colts' final preseason game, and that'll be Saturday night. So we'll get a look at the Sudbury Wolves team and all that they have to offer. Sudbury, they could take top spot in the Central this year. Don't be surprised to see the Nickel City represented quite well in the Ontario Hockey League. You even have, I touched on Goyette and Quentin Musty, but you also look at their goaltending. They have the import selection from Czechia, Jakub Vondras. If he can have a solid year, kind of like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, remember that run from a few years ago? This is a Sudbury Wolves team that could make some noise. And the Eastern Conference does appear to be wide open this year. So maybe we'll see the Sudbury Wolves back in the OHL final for the first time since 2007. But, it is still early. I'm not making any final predictions just yet. We will have a prediction in regards to the OHL season in a couple of videos. But right now, just going over the CHL top 10, and it's the Sudbury Wolves who take the number 8 in the Canadian Hockey League. And then rounding out the top 10 from the OHL, the Owen Sound Attack. This is a team I think a lot of teams are going to want to watch out for. I think they have one of the better goaltending tandems in the OHL. You've got Vaudry and Carter George. Those two can be pretty solid, especially with what we saw last year. Carter George from the Thunder Bay native. He made his debut in Barrie, and he just shut the door. He looked fantastic in his limited starts in the OHL before finishing the season with the St. Mary's Lincolns and the GOJHL. But outside of that, the Owen Sound Attack, they have a solid lineup. You've got Cedric Guindon. He's the Montreal Canadiens prospect. He's a lot of fun to watch. Denny Gore, he seems to be all over the ice. He'll have a big season this year. Caleb Lawrence, the Giant. I know some people would like to see a little bit more from him on the offensive front. But when you stand 6'6", 221 pounds, you're noticed out there on the ice. And we saw him out there in that preseason game earlier against the Barrie Colts. And Declan Waddick, a big pickup from the Niagara Ice Dogs. I think he's going to have a big year with the Owen Sound Attack. And how can you forget Colby Barlow, the high-selected OHL player in last June's draft, picked up by the Winnipeg Jets. We'll have to wait and see how long it'll be until Barlow is in the Owen Sound Attack lineup. You got to think that maybe he'll stick around with the Winnipeg Jets to start the regular season and then be sent down because Colby Barlow already having a good, he had a good rookie tournament in Penticton with the Winnipeg Jets, and he'll be at the main camp. So the Owen Sound Attack fans have to wait a little bit before they see Colby Barlow, but still, I think the Owen Sound Attack, they're going to be a team that's you can't take lightly in that Midwest division, and that Midwest division looking pretty solid because we haven't even talked about the Guelph Storm yet. I think the Guelph Storm are another team that are going to be making some noise in the Western Conference because the Power was all Eastern Conference last year. This year, it's shifting to the West. And just to note, I do have a couple of broadcasters from the Midwest Division joining me in a few videos from now, but we're going to talk some Western Conference hockey, and I don't want to spoil the surprise as to who's going to be joining me on the channel, but it's going to be some good chats coming up as we talk about some of the Western Conference and more particular the very competitive Midwest Division. So those are your 4 teams representing the OHL on the CHL Top 10 ranking. Number 1 is the London Knights, 2 the Saginaw Spirit, and then the Sudbury Wolves 3, and the Owen Sound Attack 4th. And I know it's preseason, it feels early to be having these rankings, but the CHL, the rankings are based on input from NHL Central Scouting, so they look at all the rosters and just the anticipation with some of the players in the lineup, and that's how they came up with this ranking. And also to note, the QMJHL and the WHL, their regular seasons kick off this Friday, and then the following Friday will be the Ontario Hockey League. So we're just over a week away from the start of the 23-24 OHL season, and we won't see another CHL Top 10 ranking until October 2nd. So then they can allow everybody to have that first weekend of play, and then we'll start to get these annual rankings. And every week they come out, I'll do a follow-up just to let you guys know who's placed on the CHL Top 10 from the Ontario Hockey League. And, we're off to a fun start discussion-wise, seeing the London Knights represented at number 1. Let me know in the comments section what you think of the CHL Top 10 ranking. Do you think the London Knights deserve to be the number 1 team in the OHL? Or maybe you think a different team should have made it onto the Top 10 ranking. So I'd love to hear your comments. Remember to hit like and subscribe as we get ready for that OHL regular season. It's just around the corner, and I'll have more videos coming towards you for you soon as we follow along with this upcoming season.